Right, hello there, everybody, and welcome to. Are you ready, Scotty? Are you ready? Because after
I'm ready.
After a few weeks, we can welcome to Between Two Fans.
Between two fans.
Between Two Fans, dude. Your official, like, everything sports, everything banter, everything podcast featuring myself, Steve, and Mr. Dan Scholz. Shout out to you, Dad. What a moment of inspiration with the name, dude.
Yeah, it just came to me in a moment of procrastination at work.
Yeah, love it.
And a lot happens between two fans. A lot of talk, a lot of agreement, a lot of disagreement. But we'll be getting into every single piece of that, of what happened in last week and what's coming up this week in the world of sport.
Yeah, and we're busy doing the pre-show. We're discussing just a stupid amount of sport at the moment. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, which means it's officially Champions League season. Premier League is well and truly back. AFCON has been wrapped up. What a ridiculous tournament it was. Six Nations.
That's why we love Valentine's Day.
That's the only reason I love Valentine's Day anyway. But I'm sure you've got Valentine's Day plans. Mine literally revolves around watching football. So that's mine.
Well, Liverpool aren't in the Champions League, so there's that. They've left me high and dry this season, so I'm going to have to enjoy it for some other reasons.
Yeah, well, at least you've got some other reasons. So I've got to go try and find a reason to watch, like, Lazio versus, like, City or something, or PSG, and, yeah. Anyway, tough times are lasting. At least the Proteas are playing, so at midnight tonight, when it officially becomes Valentine's Day, I can watch Rwanda squad score his maiden test entry. Small wins.
Absolutely. It's unbelievable. It's my bedtime story nowadays. And I'm not hating it.
I completely forgot about it last night, to be honest. I was going to bed. I was getting ready to bed, and then I was like, "What series should I watch?" And then I could get it because I'm on the SA cricket WhatsApp group, and all of a sudden it was like South Africa won the toss and batting first, and I was like, "That is phenomenal. This has just made my entire week. I'm going to go to bed at midnight. I'm going to spend an hour just watching the buggers dispatch the New Zealand bowlers. I think about 3 down by the time I went to bed. But anyway."
Yeah, I was drifting off. I'm lucky, my time zone makes it that the first ball is at 10 p.m, so a little bit more accessible. But drifting off, it's still a school night, and just interrupted every 10 minutes with an appeal, like a DRS decision. It wasn't. The heart rate didn't go down for a long time.
Well, David does as a Proteas fan.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But Steve, we in week 2 of our predictions. Last week, as you told me, you won. You've gone 1 up in the Dan vs. Steve Between Two Fans prediction show, and that was purely Six Nations based. So now we're taking it to all sports based. So we're going to have a little recap, and just to cover the games we went over, it was the not a semi-final, Joburg Super Kings versus Durban Super Giants in the SA20 Cricket League. It was the predictions for the AFCON final between Nigeria and Ivory Coast, and it was the England versus Wales Six Nations test at Twickenham. Let's start with JSK versus DSG.
And I believe I went with my heart on my head. I'm pretty sure I went JSK.
I don't. Yeah, there's no way you weren't going to go JSK, and I think I would be disappointed with you if you didn't. And so DSG go on to win that game quite convincingly by 69 runs, but which I predicted, by the way. So I go 1 up, but not just that. This is just the level of expertise that you can come to expect on the show. But there's a respectable knock by someone called Heinrich Klaassen, 74 runs off 30 balls, just absolutely dismantling what was actually not a bad bowling performance from Joburg Super Kings to begin with. And just on top of my my prediction for DSG to win, I go quote unquote, I think Klaassen is going to be absolutely mad at the bull ring. So that's a little cherry on top for me, and I'm just giving myself a little A star. But
nothing like A-class punditry to call the most informed white batsman in the world of the last 18 months. Okay.
Yeah, it was a real left field call that. No one else was saying it.
Yeah, huge call. Erling Haaland might score this weekend. I just got a feeling. It's been a while.
Yeah, we do things a little different here.
But we can see talent where others can't.
But moving on to the second one, it's the AFCON final. And I've gone for a Nigeria win. I said 1-1 in Nigeria on pens, whereas Stevie P has gone 2-1 Ivory Coast. And sorry, I should have introed this before, but Ivory Coast went on to, in fact, win the game 2-1.
Come on.
So that's 1-1 in this week's predictions. We'll get into that game in just a little bit. But going into the last game, it's England versus Wales in the rugby, and it's 16 game ends. England wins 16 points to 14. England by 2. Our different predictions were Steve, England by 5, and Daniel, England by 6.
Come on!
So I've taken back-to-back L's there.
Yes, it's huge.
I do think Heinrich Klaassen should count for something, but yeah, there's that. That's the only W I'm taking. So it's a 2-0 lead in the weekly prediction show. So well done.
You know what? This is why they pay me the big bucks here, dude. At the end of the day, it's It's tough being me, but when you have this kind of this intuition, it's impressive. Which for somebody who's terrible at fantasy and losing every single SUPERBRU pool he's in is very strange. So we move.
Well, you're saving all your luck for here.
There we go.
So fair play. But let's get into it, Stevie. First off, the cricket.
Yeah, listen, what a week we've had of cricket. Drama on the field, drama off the field. Actually, not too much drama off the field for a change. It's quite nice, actually. But South Africa are day one to a test match. We do have back-to-back SA20 champions. And so I'm sure Mr. Eastern Cape's going to be very chuffed over here. We'll also talk a little bit about a very interesting incident between West Indies and Australia. But let's talk about the SA20 first, shall we? Sunrisers Eastern Cape. What a team, what a franchise, what a coach, what a captain, what a performance. And they are the only team to have won the SA20 back-to-back. But not even just the back-to-back, the dominance of this season in general. Last season, they took a while to get going. It wasn't a complete team. It took a while for them to find their best side and get going. Yeah, and went on to be a surprise package this season, just dominated from the get-go. And I think what the biggest thing we've got to talk about is the fact that this is a team that's been carried by local heroes. To the point where literally even like local heroes like a Jordan Herman and Neil Bartman, for example, playing out of the stadium that they play out domestically. Stubbs, players who are from the Eastern Cape, Marco Jansen, who ply their trade down there. But it wasn't a team where even if on the day somebody like a Tom Abel rocked up and got the job done. But what a season they had. So you are the SEC man. Just try and sum up what makes this team so impressive.
Well, first of all, there's only one Cape, and it's the Eastern Cape. I don't want to hear any about this Western Northern nonsense. But no, incredibly stoked. Just a phenomenal team setup. I mean, first of all, I think the coaching staff, Ada Barov, always loved him. I actually had the pleasure of him coaching me a little bit at school, and just the level-headedness that I think.
What could have been?
Yeah, what could have been? If I would have gone pro, but yeah, I'm actually colorblind, so I just like the red ball and the didn't work.
This wasn't quite
this close. But yeah, just it doesn't. Although they had the top 3 wicket takers of the tournament, you still don't describe them as a team that is filled with all-stars. It's such a well-rounded team. They all work for every single inch. They're on the field. They are diving everywhere. You see the elation of Tristan Stubbs with every wicket, bringing up the energy in the field. You have like the silent leader in Markram, who is the talisman but doesn't demand more attention than anyone else on the field. And then, the likes of, as you said, Tom Abel, Jordan Herman, these relatively young players, not world beaters, but stepping up on the biggest stage when it counts most. And then chip in performances from the likes of Jared Kruger. It's just a really, really phenomenal team setup, and one that didn't, there wasn't one player that won them that match. There was so many people that contributed to that, and you could say that for the rest of the season as well. I do feel for Durban. I think they put on a phenomenal campaign. I think they might have been overly reliant on big batting performances. They had such class in Klaassen and Bretzka and Vian Mulder, to be fair, who, in the eyes of the South African cricket supporter, does not hold a lot of love often in the conversation. So, I mean, just awesome to see him score runs with the confidence that he did.
Yeah.
But at the end, we go back to back and bring on the three-peat in 2025.
There we go, the three-peat. Yeah, I think it's just, for me, it's an example of how. Maybe we're seeing it a little bit, in rugby as well. If you look at like Sharks versus Lions, where you've got a team with stars, but what seems to be like a culture versus a team that maybe don't have the big names, but there seems to be an inherently good culture. And I think that's what Adrian Burrell does so well. And they also won the Fair Play Award twice in a row, and that was something he said is very important. He says it's not about being good cricketers, it's about being good people. And the coaching videos that have come out of that Eastern Cape, the SEC, you just sit there. Look, I mean, he's such a understated character as Adrian Burrell. He's quiet, he's sort of unassuming, but he's
Eastern Cape. He's literally
he is. He's sitting there probably in the slops. He's got a bottle of brandy there at all times for fines. He's just going on and doing his job. But he just, the confidence that he must have instilled in a player like a Jordan Herman, for example, who's been, ironically, going into this tournament, he had said that he hasn't been happy with his T20 game for a while, and that this was a format he needed to try and adjust to and learn how to play. And he goes and scores a 42 of 26 in the final. He scores his first ever T20 100 in the tournament. Aidan Markram, I mean, jeepers, you look at him as a captain now, and I mean, we all know. I mean, now he's captaining the T20 side for the Proteas, and we all know that he will be the next 3-4 captain within the next sort of 3 to 4 years. But Stubbs, he's really coming of age.
Yeah.
And Marco Jansen, who wasn't always at his best throughout the tournament, kind of had a couple of sort of ups and downs, stuff like that, taking 5 in the final there. Othniel Bartman,
what a guy. Has to get a Protea call up.
No, it has to. You can't leave him out of the way he's playing at the moment. One of the best bowler in that tournament.
I can't think of a Proteas bowler who bowls in duckers like that. I mean, they're just so beautiful to watch. That when you got Klaassen in the final, it was just I mean, not only did it win them the tournament, but it just was a phenomenal ball that capped off a phenomenal campaign.
Look, at the end of the day, they needed somebody to step up when Magala was ruled out. You forget how good of a tournament Magala had last season. He's one of the best death bowlers we have. And Bartman just took it on.
Hey? People have forgotten that how good he was last season.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of people who've had to step up and step in. And as I said, the way they've managed to cope with using a couple of big players, something like a Patrick Kruger, who's not a household name by any means, being backed, putting in a good couple of fielding performances, for example. And he's not someone who's played at the high. I mean, he's been around for a while, but he's not played. He's not been a superstar, for example. 29 years old, that gets drafted and gets backed, for example. It's a team that have just gotten a lot of things right. But I'd like to talk about the DSG for just for a few seconds. This is a side that were absolutely nowhere last year, and we had. We criticised the coach staff a lot because it kind of just seemed that Lance Klusener and John T. Rose were just, kind of a bit of a vibes team. It was kind of like, just go forth and just do what you want to do. It just didn't feel like there was much of a plan, much of a structure. People were like chopping and changing batting lineups, and to go from that to being one of the top better sides of the tournament, even with a couple of players misfiring, I felt that they probably need a bit more bowling.
Yeah.
But good to see the fact that they managed to turn it around.
One more bowler. Quinny didn't have the best of tournaments, but add Nicholas Puran to that in the final, and Nicholas Puran can put on any amount of runs in any amount of time. He can take. He's a born match winner. Just in the beginning of the tournament, they were just blowing everyone's socks off with their batting performances. Also, Junior Dala, really, really impressed by his tournaments. He was very crucial for them. But yeah, I think one more real wicket taker could have helped them. But Stevie, the Proteas are playing almost
and they are
in
220
a couple
for
hours.
6. Literally, within the next 4 hours, they are 220 for 6 and actually looking like a test team, to be perfectly honest. Frustrating.
Through a whole day.
A whole day, and with 4 wickets in hand, it's not like we were like 220 for like 8 or 9 here. You know, we've got we don't have much batting after this, but we've got 2 guys at the crease at the moment that can bat.
And they said.
And they're well said. Ruan de Swart's gone to 55, 135. I thought he got the perfect balance of understanding when to attack, when not to attack. I think the frustration is you look at this lineup and Zabaya Hamza got himself out. I thought Keegan Pearson, Rana Van Tonder as well, looked pretty set, also frustrating. I thought that Bedingham obviously was very unlucky. Bizarre way to go out there, but so it's frustrating.
I watched the highlight this morning and they skipped his wicket. So what happened?
Let's go watch it. It like basically like punched onto his foot type thing come up. You know, one of those like bizarre. You know, you couldn't even if you tried to like plan it, and he was looking really good as well. He looks test quality. That's the nice thing. What I said before this, I said I want to see players show they have test quality. Now Bedingham for me looks test quality. You know, he stays in the test team for the next series. Ruan de Swart, who's Indian as an all-rounder by the way, sitting at 55. You know, he's sitting there going, okay, so there's a test player there. I thought Neil Brandt looked a lot better. Shame they pulled up his stats at the beginning. You know, and it was, you know, 1 test, 7 runs, an average of 3.5. I was like, this guys, I'm sure we could have pulled up his first class stats. Probably would have been a bit more better exercise than that. But so he's basically
home advantage.
Yeah, no, that was a bit deep. I was like, same thing as bringing up Clyde Fortains. I'm annoyed at Clyde Fortain. First of all, I don't think he should be on the tour. I think that there are better keepers that weren't part of the SA20. Rivaldo Munsami is the leading run scorer in the 4-day series as a keeper, and he's not there. Chile's had a decent season. He's been part of SSS before. For me, a better batsman. He's not there. And for Clyde Forte to come on the back of a pretty poor season, batting at 8 last week, to then go up to opening, and then to play that shot first up.
Yeah. It's
just...
Yeah, I feel for him because... Yeah, 8 to opening, having opened twice in his career.
Yeah.
No experience, now playing for the Proteas for the second time. And it's kind of, it's reflected in the shot selection. Not an opener, like, don't go swing your bat. And that's clearly nerves, right? He just sees it out there. He's like, I need to settle the nerves. This looks there to be hit. And a phenomenal
big booming coming drive. No, it was a great catch. But you can't bring up the beating cover drive in the first delivery of the day, you know, against Matt Henry. Like,
now he's gonna. I mean, imagine the nerves on him going out to that second innings. But possibilities, Stevie, possibilities. I mean, we are playing 2 spinners in a ground that typically
and 3, and that's including Neil Brandt.
And who took 6 wickets in an innings, I think 9 in the match. But typically on a pitch that doesn't suit spinners, and then picking an opener, well, you'd think, okay, well, you pick spinners because you want them to bowl in the 4th inning, so you need to put up a big total.
Then you go there, and you drop an opener.
But then you don't go and pick like an opener, so it's just, you do come to... I think we're a bit desensitized by this with CSA and selection panel. It's a bit confusing at times.
It's the first time I've had a massive issue with Shukri Conrad's selection. It's the first time I've really gone, Shukri, what are you doing? Because I've really enjoyed his tenure so far. Yeah. Even sometimes he's got things wrong, but you can understand why people have been selected. You can kind of see a thought process. I look at playing 2 spinners and then dropping Eddie Moore, opening Clive Forte, and I go, this was stupid.
Yeah. But it's not horrible. We haven't been bowled out. We'll know a lot more. We'll have a lot more to reflect on. But at this stage, we're a not sad Proteas fan group.
No.
So
300's
we'll take. Yeah, well, I mean, I hope so. I mean, as you say, they could have two half centuries, maybe even a century. It's just, hopefully we don't lose too many wickets in those first five overs. But let's get into something very controversial, Stevie. Australia versus West Indies. The wicket that could have been. So let's paint a little picture. West Indies batsman, I've forgotten actually who it was. Cover drives it. only for it to be stopped. They take the quick single, is thrown in to the bowler, who dismantles the stumps, who proceeds to trot over to the fielder and clap and say, and congratulate one another on what's a good one out there. They zoom in on the umpire's face, and he looks around, left, right, all over the show, and he returns to his mark, ready for the next ball. And as the Australians are continuing to clap, he hasn't given the person out. He hasn't even sent it upstairs because there was no appeal. It ends up being called not out because in cricket, just as cricket is a weird sport, you have to appeal and ask the umpire if it was out, and then if he thinks it is out, he'll either send it upstairs or give it out. In any case, he's not out. Stevie, is the umpire looking for airtime and trying to be a hero, or is he just following the rules of the law and doing what's best for the game?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't. So the biggest problem is the Australians reckon. I mean, for example, Tim David was claiming that he had appealed, for example. People, you do have to appeal. We've been there before. It's the same as caught behind, for example. And you remember how there was that time where, and Vernon Philander used to do it as well. He used to he'd bowl, he'd get a guy in the pads, or he'd edge him off, and he would run straight to the keeper, and he wouldn't turn around. Yes. And there was a whole thing saying the bowler. This is not even just the fielder. The bowler has to turn around and at least just ask the question, basically, for the wicket to be valid. And the timing of the appeal within the law, I've got it over here, says, and I quote, "For an appeal to be valid, it must be made before the bowler begins his or her run-up. If there is no run-up, his or her bowling acts to deliver the next ball, and before time has been called." Because now people are saying that, after the replay, for example, that there was a potential appeal and stuff like that.
Send it upstairs, not to check the run-out, to check if there was an appeal.
Appeal type, yeah. So it's an interesting one. Look, it's one of those things where it'll become a lesson. It'll be an isolated incident, and now every team will know. The fact that it's against Australia makes me very happy. But at the end of the day, if there was no appeal, there was no appeal. And you can see on the replay, he's looking around going, well, who's actually asking the question? Everyone's celebrating. Is there a single person who's asking the question? So, yeah, it's a technicality.
I have to disagree here, Stevie, because I think that I always think in these scenarios, if this is in a World Cup final, what's happening? What should you do? And maybe it's okay. And the point being that if it was a World Cup final, of course he's giving it out, and there's no way that umpire gets away with this happening if it's in a World Cup final and everything's on the line. So maybe it's something that needs to change. I get it. I mean, I had it happen to me in bloody under 11s. Everyone, top edge, catch the ball. Everyone goes, yes, runs together, and the guy stays in and goes on to bash another 70 runs off of us. So I also learned the hard way. But there's a difference between under 11s and international cricket. I just think if this is happening now, especially given the fact that Tim David said he appealed, I think you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. Are you ever going
to believe in Aussie, eh? When Aussie plays, when Aussie does, eh?
Yeah. Whether he did or not, I think the point is you'd already made your point by threatening it. You didn't, rescinding it, and as you said, before the next ball. So if he did, they could still appeal while they were having that discussion, in theory. So yeah. I just felt like it was a way of, kind of having his chest out a little bit for the umpire's sake. It's not the end of the world. Life moves on, but I think in a higher stakes scenario, this, and if it was our team, I think we'd all be furious if we were on that side.
Yeah, well, again, it's one of those things, and I'd be interested to see if there's a law adjustment, for example. For me, the reason I'm not particularly convinced is that Glenn Maxwell, after the game, said, I think the umpire deemed that no one had appealed, and there was a few of us that thought we did appeal. What do you mean there's a few of us that thought you appealed? You either appealed or you didn't, dude.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just does seem to be a lot of,
it is grey area.
Yeah, it is a lot of grey area.
You have to say the exact word, how's that?
You have to ask the question,
Yes, yeah. But yeah, as you said, couldn't be happier it happened to the Aussies, and couldn't be happier it happened for the West Indies team, who actually won the game today quite convincingly.
Yeah, so put that in your pipe and smoke it. Good old Windies, coming good. 220 for 6 ball. I mean, ironically, the same score that the Proteas are currently on, albeit they're doing in 20 overs as opposed to 89. But
neither here nor there.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy instances like that, to be honest, because you need stuff like that to remind you of some of the laws and to sort of.
Yes.
Sometimes there are laws which are out of date, which you don't talk about because you don't have enough incidents to warrant, the review, and something like that will suddenly be taken into account, and it'll go back to MCC, and they'll review it, and it'll be interesting to see if that changes or what the official wording will become. So, yeah, you need instances like that. It was a bizarre thing. It didn't affect the game in the end, so I don't think it's too serious.
But it feels like that.
I live for the drama.
Yeah, it feels a bit like that Johnny Bairstow run out, where it's like such a grey area. What is a dead ball in cricket? At what millisecond did it become a dead ball? What is safe and what is not? Thing is, I also think it's just a reaction. Umpires in cricket almost they have bugger all to do. They hold the light meter when it goes dark. You know what I mean? They have very little to control other than just the pace of play. They don't, unfortunately. They do obviously have umpires call, which you can argue for or against. But in the olden days, obviously they were making massive. They were making
all the decisions. Now no balls have been checked by the third umpire, for example. We're seeing people review things for caught behind just to get a wide removed and stuff like that. So people manipulating technology. So it's an interesting time with officials and trying to find that balance between technology and what they actually do. So an instant I get maybe is a time for umpire to be like, well, guess what, boys.
You're done.
Interesting.
This is the law.
Anyway,
enforce it. But let's move on, Stevie. This Saturday and Sunday we had the final 2 matches of AFCON. Let's start with the final. Champions, Ivory Coast. 2-1, you predicted it?
I did.
Obviously, Nigeria going... Yeah, absolute unbelievable redemption story. But goal in the 38th minute by William Troost Ekong, who won player of the tournament for Nigeria.
Fantastic.
And then in the 62nd and 81st minute, it was Frank Kessie and Sebastian Alle who scored the equalizer and then the ultimate winner. What a redemption story for Sebastian Halle, coming back from testicular cancer, having to get chemo, being taken out of the Dortmund setup, going back in, and now going and winning an AFCON, the 3rd AFCON for his country. After they only left the group with 3 points, fired
and
their
no coach. That's the most ridiculous.
And then
only
the
coach, AFCON, hey? Only the AFCON.
Only an AFCON. And then the replacement coach, Emers Faye, goes to win the coach of the tournament, having played half of the games. It's just, you can't make it up. But what a final and what a tournament, right?
Yeah, look, it's just, the AFCON, it's the gift that keeps giving, isn't it? There's just always the most ridiculous stuff happening. I mean, African football is African football for a reason, and just for a coach to be... And remember, I think we had the conversation, and I was like, when I got sacked, I was like, it's the most ridiculous thing that he's been sacked. They got sacked, and I think I even said they could still go through. Then they did go through, and then they just kept going through, and they wanted to bloody win the tournament. You either look at that sacking as one of the best moves of all time, or you generally look at that as one of the most ridiculous, over-the-top reactions. But I
mean, it's a stroke of genius from whoever called it. I think he's sipping on champagne, so they'll be enjoying the parade. It'll be interesting to see if they invite the previous coach to join the celebrations, playing his part of getting them out the group in the first place. It's no walk in the park. But moving on to the first of all, congratulations, Ivory Coast, winning at home.
At home as well.
At home, the vibes just phenomenal.
And on that note, just really well hosted. People have talked about the fact that often we've seen AFCON, and look, at the end of the day, AFCON, it's the African Cup of Nations are always going to be moving around between different countries and stuff like that. But people have spoken about how previous editions of AFCONs, the pitches have been really poor quality, the facilities have been really poor. And from all accounts this year, a lot of the players, coaches saying that they were really, really impressed because all the stadiums were up to spec, the pitches played really nicely, that they were... and that's what sort of allowed a really good brand of football being played across the tournament. So from all accounts, sounds like the organisation was really good, which is not something we're used to when it comes to AFCON, because we have had so many issues with this kind of thing previously, especially when it comes to qualifiers and stuff like that. I mean, there's some ridiculous stories about what's happened, but yeah, it sounded like a really well hosted tournament. So they deserve to win it, and very cool to win it in front of their fans.
Yeah, no, hats off to them. Now on to the third and fourth playoff. Bafana winning in the penalty shootout, yet another penalty shootout versus DRC, winning 6-5. Ronwen Williams, hero once again, 2 penalty saves. We actually scored a couple more of our penalties this time, which was nice.
Makes
not
a
to
nice
win a penalty
change.
shootout 2-1. But I mean, obviously, we're absolutely, let me add quickly, Ron Williams getting the Golden Glove and Bafana getting the Fair Play Award for the tournament. Stevie,
Nice guys.
we kind of discussed this a little earlier. Is this a success, or some people are saying we are applauding mediocrity with Bafana coming third and us celebrating this? Is that a fair opinion, or do you think
I'm sorry, when was the last time we were in the freaking AFCON? When was the last time we qualified for a major tournament? So, we've been in this lull for the last 10 years where if we weren't hosting the damn thing, we weren't in the damn thing. So if we go from not being there to then being in our first playoff game in 16 years, to then being in our first semi-final in 20, 30 years, to finishing third, look, do we think South Africa should be the best, African team in the world and winning this tournament? Absolutely. We're not going to go from not qualifying for these tournaments to winning the world, thing.
Best team in the world.
Yeah, dude, one day.
Mamelodi Sundowns.
There we go, dude. But I'm just saying, it's a side that has had so many... Look, I mean, I it's difficult because you kind of always bend towards the players, but I mean, SAFA and South African football drives me up the wall. The amount of funding, the amount that goes into it, there's no reason why we shouldn't be... Genuinely, we should actually be competing when it comes to World Cups. It's with the resources we've got, there's no reason. Yes, we're not quite maybe like a UK, for example, or some of the European countries which have some ridiculous. But I mean, the amount of player base you've got, the money you've got, the league you've got, this should be a norm. So
we see African teams compete on the global scale. We saw Morocco come fourth at the last World Cup. And we're the highest paying league in Africa with a team of South Africans that all play in our own league, which should, in theory, only make the rest of the league stronger. I do think that because we are so high paying, our cream of the crop doesn't go to new heights because they don't have as much incentive as, let's say, someone from DRC to maybe go to Europe, because that's the only way that they can go make money. And I think players would become better if they played more European football because it's the best football in the world. But as a whole, our league is very strong, and we have just been underperforming for a very long time. So obviously, Mamelodi Sundowns, I think, are going for their 7th title in a row now. And the majority of that team being held, by Sundowns players shows a lot, and not whom are all, ancient and going to retire. The likes of Mokoena only being 24. These guys have a lot of football left to play. So I'm hoping that this is a sign of things to come. For them, I think it's probably our oldest players that we're going to probably not see a lot more of was maybe Themba Zwane, and Tau maybe has a couple years left. But just to get a South African football fan excited again is so good, because now I cannot wait for the World Cup qualifiers, and I have so much faith in them in the World Cup qualifiers, whereas previously you'll maybe just look at the result the next day. So I'm excited to be excited.
No, exactly. Well, the thing is, this needs to be the start of something, doesn't it? This needs to now be, if in 5, 6 years' time, 10 years' time, you look back at, I don't know, getting to a last 16 in the World Cup, a quarterfinal, and you go back and you think this all started with that third place playoff and, victory in the AFCON in 2024. This needs to be the start of the journey, because this is, this would be celebrating mediocrity in 10, 15 years' time, because this needs to become the norm. We need to become like a Nigeria, where a semi-final, for example, is a given. A quarter-final exit is a disaster tournament. Not, oh my goodness, we're in the tournament. Oh my goodness, we progress into the next stage. That needs to become non-negotiable. And we'll climb up the FIFA rankings. I think we go up to 10th in Africa. I think we go into about 55th or something in the world. The next ratings come out, I think, on Thursday, the official FIFA rankings, so we will move up a little bit. 55th in the world is not phenomenal, but let's start making that climb a little bit. To be ranked below teams like Burkina Faso, for example, I don't think we should be. Teams like Mali, for example. Even these days, Ghana is not exactly the powerhouse it used to be. So these are teams we need to start moving up in the world. And I agree, I think the biggest thing is we need to start seeing more players going overseas, more players playing for top teams around the world. We need to start fostering a culture of wanting to be the best footballers possible, and not just earning a lot of money as a footballer, but how can I become one of the best footballers in the world? How do I become a successful footballer, and not just how do I become successful by being a footballer? So we spoke about that sort of change in mentality, and hopefully this kind of taste of, good footballers are measured in trophies. Hopefully this is the start of that shift in culture where people just want to be better versions of themselves, not just, I've made it, I've got to achieve, I've got to a Paris, I'm on a nice big contract, I've got a nice car, I've got a nice house, life is good.
Yeah. I mean, we also just didn't have Lau Forster, our best, arguably the best South African player.
The only player that is over there, making it overseas and playing in the Prem, so...
I think Hadin, in retrospect, I wonder if he regrets not having come back, but I think also just it's exciting to come back, and as someone who can go away to Europe, you're excited to then come back to your national team because they succeed. It's not just a club football that you're interested in. I mean, for me the most exciting player was Kuliso Modal, and who's also actually been linked to Burnley, by the way. I think, bar him obviously skying that extra time chance in the semi-final, I just think he's phenomenal. The calm composure that he shows at the back, speed, passing, pace. There's really, really exciting talent at Bafana, and it's going to be exciting to see how the team continues to grow. I made a mistake earlier, by the way. Morena is not 24, he's 27, but in the peak of his years.
Yeah. But quite a few players have been named in the various teams of the season, for example. Madal was one of them, McQueen in the midfield, obviously Roman in the back. But so nice to see that, a couple of very nice players and performances. I really enjoyed our midfield. I thought our midfield was nice and solid. Just, as I said, but be brave. You've gotten to this situation. You're on the international thing. Go and play in the Belgian league. Go and play in the Dutch league. Not even just about going to Europe, but go and be involved in those elite environments. You look at the environments that you see in some of these setups. Look at the coaches you get to work with, for example. Look who scored the goals, in that final. Frank Kessie getting that goal, Sebastian Haller getting that goal. These elite players come back, and they're a different level. They're used to playing. You look at that Nigerian side, and it's completely stacked with players playing overseas. It's become so normal to see Senegalese players, Nigerian players, Algerian players, players all playing across Europe and stuff like that. And it's so rare to see South African players playing across Europe, and we've got to try and change that. And some people might sit there saying, well, a European style of football doesn't suit South African. That's not the point. The point is go and play in the best leagues. Go play against the best, because the best players are playing in Europe.
I think there'll be always a group that I think we stuck in a rather good situation now, because if they stay, they make the South African League stronger, and if they go, they themselves get stronger. So it's kind of a win-win, because you don't want it to be everyone to leave South Africa, and I don't think that'll ever happen because it's a strong league. I hope this league remains strong, that it can produce a team made up of players only playing from pretty much one league, barring one or two players, and still compete at AFCON. But very exciting, and great to see Bafana on that stage again. But Stevie P, Six Nations this weekend. We have a break this upcoming weekend, but let's get through the fixtures or the results from last week.
Drama, and more drama. And I feel at the Six Nations, I feel like we've been robbed of what could have been a really cool Six Nations. And I said it last week, and when I was speaking about it, I said that I genuinely believe Scotland can give the Six Nations a go. I think that they were robbed a win, and I think that win would have made the Six Nations so much better to watch in a few weeks' time. I think it would have created a bit more hype, a bit more excitement, and I feel that a technicality which still drives me up the wall, and I don't understand why it exists. I mean, I get what the reasoning is, but I don't agree with it. We've been robbed of a potential two-team run-in, and two teams that could have been at the end, because Scotland were denied a victory from a try or no try decision. So I've got a lot to say about this.
So just to cover the score, France ended up beating Scotland 20 points to 16 after coming back from being a try down, and did well to really actually get involved in a game that they looked largely out of, to be honest. And to an extent, I think the Van Russell also said, I think, in his post-match, that they probably should have closed out that game earlier and not having
second game where they struggled to do it.
They dominated but didn't put points on when they could have. But for context, for those who didn't see it, they went over the line to score the try, and a classic scenario when it's the forwards taking it over. Their bodies everywhere. You can barely see the ball. The ball lands on supposedly a boot of a French player. Not finding ground. Tulangi, who is, he's 150 kgs.
No, listen, you could not pay me enough money to run the same rugby field as him. Are you no?
Just you can't compete with those genes. But I digress. The ball's on his boot, clearly then shifts downward. Only one direction that can be. You're almost seeing half the ball, because there's that in grass. Yes, it's tough. You can see it drop down. The ref goes to say, I'm going to change my on-field decision because on-field decision no try. Change it to try. TV match official says, hold on, look at this new angle, the same angle.
Same angle. No, I just want to check it one more time.
Three times again, and zoomed in, and then proceeds to say no, not enough evidence to award the try, because we can't be sure that it comes off the foot.
Or over the, I don't know. The simple question is, if the question was try or no try, would have been awarded. And so I continue to ask. It's a bit like umpire's call. Why do we? Why is it even almost a thing basically anymore? Why can't a referee just say try or no try? If he was in a good position to say it, but it's just. For me, it's a try. You can see the ball's over the line. It's on the ground.
It's a try.
Actually, regardless of the referee thing, how has TMO reckon there's not enough evidence? I don't understand how you look at that angle and you can't say, yeah, that's on the ground over the line.
It's a tough call. It's a classic tough call, but it's clearly the more controversial decision. I mean, I was in a bar with a bunch of Frenchmen. They were all gutted. Everyone was like, okay, cool, it's being awarded. And all of a sudden they start looking at it again, and then French win out of nowhere. I mean, it's just, I always just think, just yes, it's difficult with pressure, but just think logically. What is more likely to have happened in that scenario? The ball touched the ground, highly, highly, highly likely. Is it over the try line? Yes. Okay, let's give the try. You know what I mean?
It's just
the Lions use protocol and use the systems in place, but don't be completely governed by it. Sometimes just that you see it in VAR in football all the time. It's just they're following a set of processes instead of just seeing what's in front of them and understanding, that's clearly an offence or it's clearly a try.
And Scotland win that game. They go to 8 points, I think it is. They're suddenly 2 points behind Ireland. If they beat England, they can go into that Ireland game right at the end to potentially, try and win the Six Nations. So, as I said, I think the Six Nations is now poor format because the only other team that can realistically probably catch Ireland, bar a miracle, is England. And it's just frustrating. But I'm going to talk about this for too long. So let's talk about England versus Wales, because we both thought reasonably close. I tell you what, I continue to be more impressed by the Welsh side than I do by the English side, and I'm hearing the English side is going through a transitional period. Welsh rugby is, for lack of a better word, fucked. Over the last 18 months.
Are Wales the national team that Lions are in the domestic South African setup?
Yeah, it's just in terms of every shit show possible. Their domestic structure is nowhere. They've got no money. Their board's nowhere. They're busy buying hotels. Players have had to go across the world to find contracts. Their domestic teams are a disaster. They almost didn't play
in the Six Nations match last year because they weren't getting paid.
Because players are going on strike for pay disputes. You had two of your greatest players of all time retiring before the World Cup. It's an absolute disaster. It's an absolute shit show. They've rocked up twice and pushed two teams much more stable right to the end. And I love Wales. I was in camp last year. It's the year before when Wales were down here, and such a great bunch of guys. Really cool team to follow. I think a lot of people during that series, they kind of became their second team, and I think it's a team that just. I'm the youngest captain ever, for example. There's fun players in there. Warren Gatland, he's a very controversial player. Some people like him, some people don't. I enjoy him. I think he's a great coach. I think him and Wales continue to be such a good fit. So I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from Wales. I think England will only get better, but I'm not impressed yet by them.
Yeah, they. I said I think we'd see them grow. I don't think they did grow from the Italy game. To this one. I think once again they relied on kind of individual moments. It didn't look incredibly cohesive. I think there's a point to be made that I wonder with Felix Jones arriving there, they're also adopting a setup of kind of doesn't matter if we win and lose, we're trying to get a style of play right, because it seems like there are just a lot of growing pains, and like on paper, if they just played a very simple brand of rugby, they could kind of
probably win.
They should relatively easy beat Italy and Wales. So maybe there's a lot more that we aren't seeing. I do like their selection, and they seem like they're balanced.
I think there's good players over there. I think there's a lot of talent in that squad, which is why I think that and I think they'll probably get it right. And unfortunately, from what I've heard about Felix Jones, he's a tremendous coach. So I've got a very bad feeling that he's going to make a big difference.
Yes.
But
come back to bite us.
We're just now assuming they're going to get better. We're assuming that things are going to click. As I said, right now I've not seen enough to sit there and go, this England team, put it this way, I'm not yet been scared. I'm not looking at this England team going, shit, this team's going to get very good and be very competitive very soon. At the moment, I'm looking at this England team and saying, well, it's a team I expect to beat, and it's a team which I think are quite a long way from being at the levels of an Ireland who scare me, at the levels of a France who a year ago scared me. They're just not there.
No, they're not there. They have the talent in the country, and there's a lot being pushed through and there's a lot that's been shown in their selection to be able to just also just pick on form. A lot of Northampton Saints players, so I think they will continue to grow. Whether that happens, I think this year or next year, remains to be seen. They have a whole World Cup cycle to work with. So, but it'll be interesting to see which of them will be on a plane to Australia.
Yeah, interesting time. But Ireland, Italy, kind of the thrashing we kind of knew was coming. Yeah, and I mean, we're not going to talk about somebody like a Chris who just, just loves to hate Italy and stuff like that. Look, as I said, I think I've continued to say it. This Italian side, for me, I'm hoping to see that in the next 4 years, I think we're going to see a lot of improvement from them. I think they've got a new coach and they're going to change a lot. I think this Ireland side are one of the most complete rugby sides of all time.
I think they give every single team 20 in the Six Nations. So, they gave French, the French 20 in the opening week away from home.
Ironically, they scored more against France than they did against Italy.
Really, that's super interesting. But yeah, kind of they walked the victory. They'd won the game very early. They probably could have put on more. Let's chat quickly about Jack Crowley fitting into that number 10 jersey.
Tell you
what is he going to go into in this time next year? Are we talking about one of the top 5 10s in the world yet, or will he become that? Because it fits like a glove by the looks of it. I mean, he's just pulling all the strings in the book. It's just looking so good for him.
I saw a post today, and they were basically sitting there saying, 1 through to 15, what position, if you pick your British and Irish Lions team tomorrow, who do you take out of this Irish side and put in? Who do you sit there going, I reckon that. So, for example, a few years ago, you could say, yeah, I reckon Itoje ahead of McCarthy, but you look at how McCarthy's playing at the moment, you're thinking that's a ball cool. And I think that shows you how good this Irish side is. And I think that where the French side have been really good over the last few years, they've been quite reliant on certain individuals to be that good, whereas I think Ireland are so systematic. I think that they've got such an environment where players can just slot in, slot out, slot in, come in and be so comfortable. And I think Crowley's got into a side that is so settled that Andy Farrell says, right, he had McCloskey last week, he had Bundyaki, who was one of the best players in the world last year. You got him inside you. You got Jamison Gibson Park, or Conor Murray, or Craig Casey, who I think are all top class scrum halves inside him. He said, you've got one of the best packs in the world. We'll back you we're going to back you to the Six Nations. You're going to be our number 10. We're going to back. And he looks like he's played 30, 40 tests. He's looked so comfortable. I mean, I liked him when I saw him last year. I was like, no, listen, this guy's going to be a problem because this kid can play. But I didn't expect him to be this comfortable this quickly. Yeah,
it's the rewards of having someone learn for so long under someone like Sexton. Obviously, it was always Sexton's jersey. Crowley, I don't think, ever really looked like he was going to take it off of him. But that knowledge, and as you say, because they play such a system game, they're not overly reliant on Sexton. He's just performing a role within a setup that is just so intricate. It really is beautiful to watch. Like, it's the way that they go about their business and the way that they win games, when it's a tough close game or not, they do so in such a team effort. That's great to watch. It's going to take something phenomenally.
I'm just so excited for the series this year. I just think we're looking at world champs versus the best 2 match, unfortunately, but
I'm nervous.
I'm cock scared. I'm
nervous.
And I think that's why, we wait for the confirmation about that Welsh game in Twickenham, but I think we need that Welsh game, because if we go into that Ireland series cold, I think we go 1-0 down, and I think we could be in big trouble coming that second test. So
this is a tougher test than I reckon the British and Irish Lions do.
Yeah, so do I.
I think it's because of the cohesion they have as a group. They are just so well oiled. We saw 3 performances from New Zealand beat them, like the best New Zealand have ever played in the last 4 years, and that just beat them by 1 point. So I'm insanely excited for that to come. But Stevie, before we get into next week's predictions, I think let's not quickly just pay homage to Kelvin Kipken, who unfortunately passed away. We're filming this on Tuesday, so it was yesterday, in Kenya with his coach, the 23-year-old, the current marathon world record, 24-year-old current marathon record holder. He was going to be the guy to break the 2-hour marathon official race on a official race day.
Yeah, it's scheduled for April. He was going to have a go in April. Apparently,
yes.
was the.
So I think it's a loss for the world of sport. So our condolences to him and his family, and hopefully at least his there'll be many like him, but he'll for sure be remembered for kind of his insane efforts on the track.
He's just inhumane.
And the Olympics coming up this year as well.
But distance running is not a young person's game, we've seen like a change at the guard recently. I mean, you know, Kipchoge, all of them will tell you, you look at your marathon winners, your Olympic winners, they're not. Kipchoge is 39 years old. It's marathon running, long distance running, late 20s, 30s. That's your peak. So to see a 24-year-old, he was 35 seconds off it. He's 35 seconds off going under 2 in a race. At 20, he was 23 at the time, I think, or just 24. He was going to set stupid records. He was going to. He was only a matter of time for us to go under 2 hours. If he was going to run those kind of times, I just don't see how he wasn't going to take a gold. We were looking at. We all know that Kipchoge is the godfather of marathon running. The first person ever to go under 2 hours in very set and specific conditions, but. He's the one that's made marathon running just so amazing to watch. He's got two golds, a silver, a bronze, for example. As go back down to 2004, in the 5,000 meter in bronze. So he's won everything, and there was now going to be the handing over the baton literally to Kipton, and it was going to be. We thought that the Kipchoge era was a dynasty. I tell you what, I think we were about to see him smash all the records over the next 10, 12 years, probably. Yeah. As I say, Kipchoge is still one of the top marathon runners in the world. At 39 years old, this kid was 24.
Yeah.
He could have 15 years worth of just chopping it up. So it's horrendously sad.
A lot of the Kenyan runners will say, and it's not to disrespect Kipchoge, but it's to say it's not Kipchoge. Was the one who had time and money invested in him, which is why he was the one that broke it. There were many who could have done the same. So there, at least hopefully, to honor Kipken, there will be more these free Kenyans coming through the ranks. And I guess the sad part, we don't know when that 2 hour barrier will be broken, but excited for it nonetheless. But let's get into the predictions for this week, Stevie. We're going to go on the Pro Tiers. We're going to touch on the Premier League, which we haven't spoken about too much AFCON action. And then we're going to go into the URC. Let's start with the Pro Tiers, Stevie. I think with you going 2-0 up, I think the loser should get benefit of...
No.
Wait, is first pick better? I don't know if it is.
Probably not, actually. No, you probably want second pick because you can lower or higher. Okay, so you want me to kick this off, basically. So are we talking result? Are we talking margin of loss?
Well, the Pro Tiers are batting first, right? So we can't follow on. We know
Thank
that.
Goodness.
Yeah. So first of all, let's go win lose, and let's say it's going to be, if we win, it'll be by wickets. If we lose, it'll be by runs. So. No, we'll lose. Yeah, we'll lose by wickets. We'll win by runs.
Yeah.
So what's your prediction?
Unfortunately, I don't see us winning this. I just don't think we can take 20 wickets, to be honest. I think that's it continues to be my biggest worry, So I think a best case scenario is a draw. A best case scenario is that we score 320, 340 runs. Ruan de Swart has the innings of his life, goes and carries his bat to 100 for the rest of today. And, New Zealand then take a day and a half getting there. We're in today 3-4. We go and put another 250 runs on, or 300 runs, and we grind out a very unlikely draw. I think that's probably our best case scenario. I don't see us burning them out for a deficit, and I don't see us then being able to put on like an unlikely extra 320, setting them 320, 340 to win scenario.
Evie, you said a lot of things without telling us who's going to win this.
So I'm gonna go. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna be incredibly optimistic. It's the sports fan in me, and I'm gonna say South Africa take a draw.
Okay, massive. Well, I feel like you've gifted me one there, and I'd love nothing more than to be proven wrong. But I'm gonna go approach this loss. I think I'm terrified of that batting lineup of theirs, and I'm nervous about our bowling lineup, particularly first innings with so many spinners and just not pace that is threatening.
No, I mean you got Tepo Marek, he's the only one who's slightly brisk.
Yeah, and slightly brisk is not worrying the likes of Ken
I mean, I think if you were to fly up Quinn and Mapaka over there, he'd add a lot more pace to the lineup, and that's saying something given the fact that he's 17.
I would have loved to have seen that. By the way, I would love to have seen that. But yeah, I'm gonna go 200-run victory. I think it might not be time for that, to be honest, because I have to declare. So actually, I'll go 150.
Okay.
I do think it's gonna. Yeah, I think it'll be convincing. Let's go into the Premier League this weekend. City versus Chelsea. Chelsea getting the win, leaving the winner quite late last night versus Palace. City are on one of those streaks which just makes any other supporter thrill. So what are our thoughts here? Our City, do they have enough to kind of get something on them? Obviously they drew 4-4 in the reverse fixture. It's me first. Sorry.
Yeah, you can go first. Yeah.
Okay, me first. I'm gonna go City win. I'm going 3-1. I think they're just gonna have far too much. For Chelsea,
I'm going 4-bar.
4-bar.
Yeah,
okay.
I think City run riot. I think City are in that. Oh my goodness, Arsenal are in the fight, and Liverpool could still win this. And I think City are about to do what City does, and I think City are about to go in one of they're going to go in one of those rights. And I think they're just about to start banging those wins, and within the next few weeks they're going to be top of the table, and we're all going to go.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Every week that they are just not out of sight is a win, and just I mean when I saw the score at like 60 minutes, Everton 0-0 with them.
Yeah, they were doing well as well.
Yeah, I got so excited, and I always get so excited, and I always just come back to about me being a Liverpool fan. It's killed my desire to watch them, which is a pity because they actually play very good football. I just can't appreciate it. Okay, so 4-0 and 3-1 from me. Take us away on the URC Yixgay Derby, Lions versus Bulls.
Yeah, easy.
Are you going to be a student this weekend, Stevie, and get your beer free?
Yeah. Still got it, eh? I still got it. It does say 2016, so there might be a little bit of a push. But
just go with the classic. Oh, they haven't been handing them out since COVID.
Yeah, no, they're just,
The fact that you have your student card on hand is phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, I was emptying my wallet the other day because I was playing golf, and I tried to sort of whammy it at one of the golf courses, and they were like, yeah, no, it's chill. I was like, thanks.
Really?
Oh, yeah, no, 100%, dude, they backed me.
I've once showed them an email from Rhodes, not realizing on the top it says Rhodes alumni. That wasn't one of my finest moments. But we're shifting off topic. Lions versus Bulls.
Lions by 5. I have to back
Lions
my boys
by 5.
I have to back my boys. Yeah, we should have won the reverse fixture, literally missing a kick right at the end to go down, and I thought we were the better side of the day. Fortress Ellis has had some good results for us. At the end of the day, we can beat this Bulls side, and I'm also hoping that a little bit of a break it'll probably allow the Bulls to get a lot of their players back, but I think that the Lions, by virtue of the fact that these teams haven't played in a while, I think hopefully both could be a bit rusty. And then I think it's the team which clicks into gear quickest. I think this Lions side can play. I think they can compete, to be honest.
They've shown much like the Wales team, maybe with a little bit more success, but for what they've had at their disposal, a lot of fight and a lot of cohesion as a unit. You compared them to the Sharks, who kind of seem like the opposite, all the backing but zero performance. It is a very exciting game to watch, and particularly because how close the last one was, how high scoring it was. I don't think it will be as high scoring. I think I'm going for a Bulls win. I'm going Bulls by 4. But I think it's not going to be higher than. I don't think either team's going higher than 25. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring. But I'm glad that the URC's back. And there's nothing quite like the XK Derby. It's always a good fixture, and it's good that it's competitive, and I think people actually care about not losing.
Yeah. Right. No, fair enough. It's probably the more sensible shot, but I got to back my baggers. So
we're emotional fans here, not logical.
Correct. And that, Dan Scalzi, brings us to the end of what is officially now known as Between the Two Fans. So, not our first episode, but the first episode of Between the Two Fans that has actually officially been named. So, from next week, expect a brand new, a whole full rebranding. We'll get some baseball jackets or something very soon as well. Come up with a cool logo, maybe a little bit of a jingle.
We need to find a virtual. Some fans of sorts. We'll get there. We're working on it. We promised this week.
We promised a name, and we delivered.
We'll continue, and we will continue to deliver. And as we said, we'll be here every week, whether you are listening or not. So tell us what you're interested in listening to. But thank you for the support so far. It really means a lot, and we can't wait for more sport. It's a good time to be a sports fan.
Yeah. Well, Scotty, enjoy your Valentine's Day and the rest of your week, and hopefully watching a bit of cricket in a few hours' time. Thank you, as always, for the company on this Tuesday evening. I'm going to go and brave the storm now and go find some food, because it's absolutely apocalyptic this side, so that's fun. A little Joburg storm to go and welcome you today after this.
At least it's not 5 degrees.
True. No, we'll take that. I'll take my 5 mils of rain versus the 5 degrees. So, Scotty, have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Everybody else, thank you very much. As I said, you can listen to this on all the various platforms, because we will be officially on Music, Amazon, all the stuff. Now that we've got a name and stuff like that, so we will be on that over the next few days. So you can listen to us on all your favorite streaming platforms, as well as on YouTube. The full episode on Forever Sports, a couple of clips on the Stevie P channel. But all those various links and stuff will be in the description of the video. So thank you very much, and we will see you guys next week.